Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Yeah, hi Mario.
What's new?
Nothing. Same old.
Same old.
The same old, same old. Yeah. No, nothing's changed. I heard Peter Faber fell down in Israel. He broke his
Yeah.
toe or something. Where
No,
did he fall? In the house?
not his toe. His
Was
here.
oh oh the ankle. Oh.
I don't even know the ankle, but somewhere there. Yeah. I
Oh.
think he just fell on his forearm.
Ah,
Not good.
no, no.
He's walking around with dust boots.
Das Boot. Yeah. It was a good movie.
Yeah, that's both.
Ay, ay, ay.
What are you complaining about?
A friend of
Harold?
ours fell down and broke something in his foot. I don't know. He's in
Oh
Israel now.
no.
Yeah,
I'm
starting to
sorry
hear
to
these.
hear that.
Yeah, start to hear these stories about our friends falling. Ay, ay, ay.
You know, I work with a trainer and my number one focus is balance and
Yeah, right.
core strength because I think that that's what it takes to protect you from that. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I did that for a while. I don't know why I stopped. I should go back. It was
I
very good.
encourage
Yeah,
you.
had me standing on one leg and doing all these things.
Yep,
In
yep.
case you trip, at least you can catch your balance.
Not only that, you're working on maintaining ankle strength, you maintain core strength with
Right,
which
core. Yeah,
ultimately is the key to keeping you from falling and hurting yourself.
yeah,
It's a challenge.
yeah.
It's a real challenge.
Mm.
There's Kenny. When are you leaving for
I just,
Montana?
I'm just gonna work on my biceps because I just want to look good.
Not to
It's
look hot.
more important to look
Nobody
It's
will
good.
not
see
how
your
good you
ankles.
are, it's how good you look.
I'm
I
leaving
hear
for
you.
Montana tomorrow night.
Okay.
That's it.
Can
What
planes
are you gonna
land
do
there?
in Montana?
He's gonna freeze.
Do they use freezers there? No, no.
They leave the meat outside.
There's a Jewish
Yeah.
Kiruv program best behavior. Not out. No, the high is going to be -10. So no, not too much outside.
Wow. Enjoy it, Ken.
Yeah, and then I'll be skiing the week after when it warms up to 0.
Wow.
You can ski if it's -5 is fine, but anything less than that is a little rough.
But it's like they say about Palm Springs. So hot, no, but it's dry. Then in Montana, it's not so bad because it's dry cold.
Exactly. That's why it gets so cold because it's dry. When it starts to snow, it warms up.
Yeah.
I saw Ernie before. We said 7:30, right?
I think so.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Yomi.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hey, Doc.
We're on Samech Ches 68. So the Gemara asks, if we're talking about the Ganef sold it before the original owner abandoned, so mi'ikin is shirashesh. It's not considered the Ganef's yet, since so there's been no chet. So we must be talking about after the owners abandoned. The Isa Gedaytech Yesh Kani. But if we're going, remember, we're dealing with this question: does the Ganef acquire the item with the Bailim doing Yeush? If we say that the Ganef has acquired it, then Amay Mashata Shomar V'Chamisha. Why is he paying 4 and 5 times the value if he shechts it? Shalom Tovech, Shalom Moicher. If it belongs to him, it belongs to him. It doesn't belong to the original owner. Amri Kedama Rava, Mipnei Shoshana Bechet. He's double dipping in Aveira. That means he stole something and then he shechted or sold something that doesn't belong to him. So it's a double Aveira. Toshma. Utvacho o mecharo. He's shechted it or sold it. And it teaches us what kind of sale it has to be. Once you shecht an animal, so you can't reverse that. The animal is dead. Af mechira, it has to be a type of sale, she'ena choseres, amos. So what are we talking about? If we're talking about that the original owners had not been misyayesh and he sold it, amayna choseres. So it is choser because it didn't belong to the Ganef to sell. The sale will be reversed. Ella must be, we're talking about lacher yesh. We're talking about the owner abandoned, and the sale is a permanent sale. But if you're going to tell me Isagadaitach Kanya, so if the way we've been saying Rav learns that the Ganef acquires it simply with Yehush of the Bailim, we ask the question again, Amay Meshalim Arba V'Chamisha. Why should he have to pay 4 and 5? Shalom Tovech Shalom Mocher. He's shechting or selling his own item. So Kedom Rav Nachman Prat L'Shehikna L'Shloishim Yoim. The mechira that's not similar to when you shecht an animal is, for example, you sell it to somebody for 30 days, not forever. So it's a reversible sale. Achanami Prat L'Shehikna L'Shloishim Yoim. Beisvei. Ganav. Person stole an item. Uba acher ugnavu, and a second thief comes and steals it from the Ganav. Harishon Mishlam Teshlume Kefa. The first guy as a Ganav pays Kefa. Vasheni and Mishlam Ela Keren Bilvad. The second pays Keren. If, however, Ganavu Mocha, the original Ganav sold it, and a Ganav comes and steals it from the guy that it was sold to. Harishon Mishanta Shlomei Arba V'Chamisha. The first Ganav pays Arba V'Chamisha. V'Hasheni Mishanta Shlomei Kefil to the guy he stole it from. Third case. Ganav V'Tovach. Somebody stole an animal and shechted it. Uba Acher Ugnava. and another Ganav came and stole, I guess, the corpse, the meat. Harisha Misham Teshlume Arba V'Chamisha. Vasheni Eina Misham Teshlume Kefil Ela Keren. Only pays the principal. Tani Miyab Nitziosa. What's the middle case? Ganav U'Mochar. The Ganav sold it to Ruvain. Uba'acher Ugnavo. Shimon comes and steals it from Ruvain who had bought it. So the Ganav, the first Ganav, Arisha Misham Teshlume Arba V'Chamisha, because he violated what the Torah says, he stole and sold. Hasheni Misham Teshlume Kefil. The second Ganav pays kefil to the guy he stole it from. When? Amos. If the owner had not been misyayish, Sheni Amai Misham Teshlume Kefil. Why would the Sheni pay kefil? Shinu Rishus, just because it changed locations below Yeush, but if the original owner has not been misyayish, Me'ik Laman Dabar Dekani. Nobody holds that the guy acquires it. It clearly is a case where the original owner was misyayish. Now, we go back to our question. If we're going to say that Yeush Bailam alone acquires it for the Ganav, why does the first Ganav pay out 4 and 5? It's his own that he's selling and shechting. Visu, another problem, Diktoni Reisha, what does it Reisha say? Ganav, the first Ganav stole. And a second Ganav comes, Uba'achar Ugnava, and steals it from the Ganav. The first Ganav, Misham Teshlume Kefil to the original owner. Hasheni, only Mishalim Keren, and Misham Keren. And we've already established the Baraisa, we're in a post-Yeush environment. Why is the second only paying Keren if the original Ganav had acquired it? To be careful. Yeush Bailam alone is not sufficient to be koined to the Ganav. Kashal Rav, Amarav of the Tizbara. You think you've answered the question? Look at the Sefer, which you didn't quote. Ela Diktani Sefer, Ganav v'Tovach. The Ganav, the original Ganav shechted it. Uba Acher Ugnava. Another Ganav came and stole. We said Rishon Misham Teshlume Arba V'Chamisha because he stole and shechted. Sheni and Misham Keren. The second only pays Keren. Umi Ikilaman de Omer Shinu Maisa Lokani. Shchita is certainly a Maisa, and it changes from a live animal to a dead animal. That certainly would acquire it to the Ganav. The second Ganav should pay kefil. So we cannot be dealing in a post-Yerush environment. The din of the middle case and the din of the last case has to be switched. The emahachi. And you have to amend the Baraisa to read like this. Ganavu mocha. A Ganav stole and then sold. And a second Ganav comes, uba acher ugnavo, from the guy who had bought it. Harishon Misham Teshlume Arba V'Chamisha. V'Hasheni and Misham Rishon Ela Keren. The second guy pays to the original guy Keren. Because Shini Rishus below Yerush Loikani. Even though it's a different location, there's been no Yerush Bailim, and it doesn't acquire it. So the second Ganav didn't steal something from the first Ganav that belonged to him. It belonged to the original owner. And the last case, Ganav v'Tovach, the thief stole and shechted. Uba acher ugnavo. Another ganav steals the meat. Harishon misham d'shlume arba v'chamisha, because he stole and shechted. Hasheni misham d'shlume kefel, to the first ganav, because the ganav through shchita, that's clearly a shinu maisa, acquires it for him. But Rav Papa Amar Lo Loitep, he leaves the brisa the way it was. And the seifa, which is the case of the ganav shechting it, and then the second ganav doesn't pay kefel, you know why? Beishamahi. The Amri, Shinui bim koimo oime. The Shinu doesn't make a kinyan. And therefore, that's why there's no kefil to the second guy. Ihachi. So if we don't have to switch the baraisa, and we don't have to deal with the case being before Yeush, and rather we're dealing after Yeush, kasha ratio mitziyosel rav. The way we analyzed before, we had a kasha on Rav from the first case and the middle case. Because if Yerush Koine, why is the Ganef ever paying Dalad v'chamisha? It's his. He acquired it. If we're saying according to Rav, Yerush is Koine for the Ganef. Kasha on Rav. Rav Zvid. La'olam, Rav can explain Kula lifnei Yerush. It is problematic, according to Rav, if we learn that the case is after Yehush, because then why is the God of paying Dal v'chamisha? So the price has to be learned up that we're dealing in an environment before Yehush. The middle case where the God of stole and then sold it. Shenisyashu abaylim beloikeach v'lo nisyashu beganef. That means he had not abandoned it while the Ganef had it, but after the Ganef sold it, then there was Yehush binding. And now you have two factors, Havale Yehush and Shina Rishus, and that certainly will acquire it. The Lo Tema, don't say that the second Ganef pays Kefil Mishum Dupa'inan Yehush V'Shina Rishus. You always need this. It might work even with Yerush alone. Gabi Ganef. We're talking about now. There's been a transfer to the buyer because the Ganef sold it to somebody. But maybe Yerush alone, when we look at the Ganef, maybe it'll acquire it for the Ganef, like Rob said. You're not going to find a case where both are going to pay, that the God of Rishon is going to pay Arba Chamisha, and the God of Sheni is going to be Kefil. In that, if he's going to do that, it only will work if there was Yehush and Shina Rishus. Itma. Machloikas Amiroi. Hamoicher lifnei Yehush. A Ganav steals something, he sells it, before the Bailim have been misyash. Rav Nachman Amar Chayiv. The Ganef still has to pay Daled Vehei, Arba V'Chamisha. Rav Sheshes Amar Potter. Rav Nachman Amar Chayiv, because it says, Umachro Amar Rachman, V'Hazavim. The Torah says if a Ganef steals and sells, you have to pay Daled V'Chamisha. Lo shna lifnei Yehush, lo shna lachar Yehush. What the status of the Bailim regarding Yehush is immaterial, based on the Gzeres HaKosov of the Torah. But Rav Sheshes Amar Potter, because Chiyuve is only lachar Yehush. Because the Anu Maisav, when the Ganef sells it, it's only going to be an effective sale if there was Yehush Bailim, because he then acquires it, he can sell it. and the mechira can't be reversed. Aval ifnei yeush, shelo yarani ma'asav. If the bailim have not been misyayesh, then his attempt to sell the item doesn't affect anything, and therefore lo mechayiv, and therefore he doesn't pay the dal b'chamisha. Why? Because the Torah connected machro utvacho. The mechira has to be dumya de tvicha be'inan. The hani tvicha is effective; it kills it. It kills the animal. Hani ma'asav. Therefore, the sale has to be a kind of sale that will be an irreversible sale that only will happen after Yerush Baim. Rav Sheshes ben Aminullah. Where do I get my shita? The Tanya. Rabbi Akiva. Why did the Torah say that a regular ganav pays kefil, but if the ganav sells what he stole or shechts what he stole, he has to pay arba v'chamisha? Why? Mipnei shenishtare shachet. He's going deeper and deeper in sin. Amos. If the Bailam has not been misyayesh, there's no deeper sin, because if he sold some, he didn't sell, it didn't belong to him to sell. It only can work after Yerush Baim. Then there's a double.
Ernie, that sale becomes, if it's before the owner gave up,
Yes.
then
When he sells, it's not his to sell. So it's not effective. The sale is not effective.
so what?
So what do
The
you mean?
buyer has to give it back.
Because remember, Rabbi Akiva says it's a double chet. You stole and you sold. But
Mhm.
the Gemara is arguing here, if it's before Yeush, what he sold, he can't sell something that doesn't belong to him.
Okay.
Only if there's Yeush Bailim that he acquires it, and when he sells it, it's an effective sale, and the sale won't be reversed.
I understand, but what happens when the first case, the buyer has to return it to the original owner?
The buyer has to return it to the original owner, yes.
Oh, okay. That's what I wanted to know. Thank you.
Well, we're saying if a ganef stole it from the buyer, he would have to return it. Remember, if there's a ganef, he's going to pay kefil to the owner. So if he sold, and basically, if there was Yeush Bailim, the ganef acquired it. So the guy who bought it will keep it.
Yes.
But the original owner is going to get a double payment. It's going to get kefil
Okay.
from the ganef. The moicher didn't do anything wrong. The kohenet, the guy who bought it, didn't do anything wrong. It might be taken away from him.
That's what I'm saying.
If the mechira is not good, that means if the bailim have not abandoned it, then the ganef who sold it didn't affect a good sale, and Beis Din would reverse the sale.
Okay.
Okay. Back to Rabbi Akiva. We say that, so Toshma Amarava, Toshma. Utvacho Mecharo. There's a connection in the psukim between the gan of shechting and the gan of selling. Why? Matvi chashen chozeres. When you shecht an animal, it's irreversible. Af mechira she'en chozeres. So again, it has to be a sale that can't be reversed. When is that? Amos. Ilema lifnei yeush. If the ganav sold it before the bailim were misyayish, amay ein chozeres, it will be chozer. Because he sold something that didn't belong to him. Ela tzlacher yeush. The mechira that is similar to shchita is a mechira by the ganav after the bailim were misyayish. Shma mina chiyuva is only la'achar yeush. And therefore, the chiyuv of paying daled v'chamisha is only after the bailim have been misyayish. Tirgama but Rav Nachman jumps in and explains that this concept of mechira that's not choizeres, it's not a case of has nothing to do with yeyush. It's prat l'sheikna lo shloshim yom. For example, you sold something for only 30 days, so that kind of mechira would not satisfy the requirement. In fact, we paskin like Rav Nachman that if a ganav stole something and then sold it or shechted it before the bailim were misyayish, he has to pay dal v'chamisha. Vaf Rav Lezer Savar, like Rav Sheshes, that chiyuv v'lachar yeyushu. The chiyuv of dal v'hei is only after yesh. Shomer Rav Lezer Teida shestam gnei v'yesh bailim. He holds whenever something is stolen from somebody, the bailim automatically give up hope that they're ever going to get it back. Sharei amra Torah tavachu machar mishanda shemar v'chamisha. The Torah says clearly, a ganav who shechts or sells will pay 4 or 5. The dimalo yayish. What do you mean? Maybe the bailim have not been misyayish. Elalav mishum damrin and stam gneva yesh bailimi. We have to assume that by a regular gneva, by a theft, the owners have given up hope. And therefore, Rabbi Lezer also holds like Rav Sheshes that the chiyuv of dal vei is only after yesh. Maybe the Torah requires the ganav to pay dal vei even without yesh. So he would answer, Amri lo sakitait. That doesn't make sense. Because the mechira has to be domi l'tvicha. Ma tvicha da'anu maisav. Shechting is effective, it kills the animal. Mechira da'ani maisav has to be a good sale which can't be reversed. Id lifnei yerush ma'anu. If the bailim had not been misyayish, the ganav when he sold didn't do anything. So we ask on Rabbi Lezer v'dilma, the shamina de yayish. Maybe he heard that the bailim were misyayish. Amri lo sagedaita. Because durmi l'tvicha, ma tvicha la'alter. If a ganav shechts before he finds out anything, whatever the bailim have done, he's going to be chayiv of mechir la'alter. So even if the ganav turned around a second after he stole it and sold it, before anybody knows what the bailim have done, he's still going to be chayiv. Amla Rav Yochanan. Gneva b'nefesh toichia. You know, the Torah says that if you kidnap a human being and sell him, you're chayiv misa. Now, who owns a human being? Nobody. Ein yerush bailim. There's no bailim there. Yet chayiv. Michlal the Savar Rav Yochanan l'fnei yerush chayiv. So you're chayiv dal vei even before yerush bailim. And we in fact paskin that something that was stolen, we assume that the bailim have given up hope of getting it back. And therefore, like what Mario asked, if a ganav sells an item to somebody, he doesn't have to return it. He bought it because there's Yeush and Shina Rishus, so the ganav acquired it. There's a minig that they returned it because it's something that was stolen. And we don't change the minig. But me'ikra din, you wouldn't have to return it if you bought it from the ganav. And like we paskin like the end of this Gemara, like Rav Yochanan and Rav Nachman, that if you steal a behem and you shecht it, whether the bailim is misyayish or not, you pay daled v'hei. So it's an important halacha. And it's important analysis that we went through the last few days regarding this issue. Okay. Now, if I'm going, so somebody, somebody steals and sells it in Shechtze. Rav Yochanan Amar Chayev, you paid al dehay. Rish Lakish Amar Potter. Rav Yochanan Amar Chayev, because Chiyuv ben lifnei yush ben lachar yush. The Torah doesn't talk about Yehush. The Torah says dal dehay, and there it makes no difference. Rish Lakish Amar Potter, because Chiyuv lifnei Yehushu. The Chiyuv of dal dehay is only before Yehush. Aval la'achar Yehush, kana. The God have acquired it. And therefore, what he shechted and sold, shelo tovech v'shelo moicher. I mean, we don't paskin like Reish Lakish. We paskin like Rav Yochanan. Eitzvei Rav Yochanan Reish Lakish. Gana v'higdish. Somebody stole, and he was magdish it to the base of Mikdash. And then v'achar kach tovach. So Mishan Tashlume Kefel. So he pays kefil to the bailim. But ve'ein Mishan Tashlume Arba v'chamisha. He doesn't pay dal v'chamisha, not to the bailim, not to hegdish. There is no kefil by hegdish, because it says Yishalim Shnaim l're'eyu, and hegdish is not re'eyu. So therefore, if there's no kefil, there's no dal v'chamisha. Now, Amos, when are we talking about? Ilem lifnei Yeyush. If we're talking about before Yeyush Bailim, so mi kadosh, if the Bailim is not abandoned, the object, and the Ganef has it and tried to be magdish, it doesn't belong to him. Ish ki agdish is based so kodesh, Amrachmana. Ma based so shalo. So you can dedicate your house to the base of Mikdash, it's got to belong to you. Av kol shalo. Hegdish is not chal and somebody doesn't belong to him. It doesn't belong to him if the Bailim have not been misyayish. El pshiti lachar Yehush. So we're talking about it's after Yehush Bailim. The taima the higdish hu deinu misham tashem arba v'chamisha. The reason he doesn't pay dal v'chamisha because he was magdish it. And the kotovach, when he shechted the hegdish kotovach, avalo higdish. But if the ganef had not been magdish it, and there was Yehush Bailim, Tovach B'Shon Teshemar V'Chamisha. He does pay dal v'chamisha. Isal Gedaitach Yehush Koine. And if you're going to go back and tell me Yehush is Koine, why should he pay Amay Mishayim dal v'chamisha Shaloyu Tovech Shaloyu Moichem, which is what we've been asking all along. Kashon Reish Lakish. Before the Ganef stole the animal, the Bailim were magdish it. Or, sorry, the Ganef stole it, and the Bailim have not been misyayish, it's still theirs. So while it's in the hand of the Ganef, the original Bailim were magdish it. And therefore the Brisa could be explained before Yehush. That's why the owners have the right to be magdish it. But it's not in their reshus, right? It's in the reshus of the Ganef. And therefore, umi kadosh. Could the hegdish be chal in this situation? V'omer Rav Yochanan, gazal v'lo nisyashu abaylim. A ganef who stole something, but the baylim have not misyayesh. So shneim, neither the owner, neither the gazlin, einan yichol lagdish. Zeh, the thief, while if he sheina shalo, you can only be magdish something that belongs to you. The Bailim don't have it in their possession. And you can only be magdish something in your possession. Who? So we'll have to answer for Reish Lakish. Who the Omar like Kishkatznuin. They were very modest and Yirei Shamayim people in Yerushalayim. This not. There is a concept called Kerem Ravoy. If you plant a tree, so the first 3 years, the fruit is prohibited to eat, have a nod from Orla. In the 4th year, it's called Kerem Ravoy. if it's a vineyard. And you cannot eat it in Tel Aviv. You have to bring the fruits to Yerushalayim, unless you redeem it. It's similar to Meiser Sheni. Now, people might come by who are strolling in the vineyard and take some grapes and eat it. But they're eating be'isser, because you're not allowed to eat these fruits only in Yerushalayim. So what did the Hatznuim do? Menichin es amos. They left some money in the field. The oimrim, kol anilket mizeh, whoever plucks grapes from this vineyard, yemochol al amos ha'elu. It'll be redeemed to this money. There was a way for them to protect people from violating this Aveira. Now, the fruit is not in their reshus, yet they can be mechalel, and the kedusha can be removed to the money, and therefore they might be able to do the same thing by hekdesh. So, if we're talking about indeed that the original owners are the ones who were zmagdishit, harei chazra keren labaylim. The item itself now is in Rishus Hegdish. So the Ganef really didn't steal anything, because it's not in his possession. It's really in Hegdish's possession. So why should the Ganef have to pay kefil? Because we're talking about Kisha Amad B'Din. The Bailim, before they were Magdish the animal, the Ganef had been caught by Bezdin, brought to court, and told that he has to pay kefil. Only in that situation does he have to pay kefil. Well, Hechidami, what's exactly the case? Ida Amri, if Bezdin told him, say Tainlo, they said, go give it back go pay the owner. So my area, Higdish, why does it come out that if the owners were Magdish it, we said before the Ganef doesn't have to pay Dal Dehay? Afilu lo Higdish nami lo l'chayve. If the Bailam had not been Magdish, he wouldn't pay Dal Dehay. Why? The Amar Rava, once Bezdin says, say Tainlo, and only after that, Tavachu Mochar, and only then the Ganef either shechted or sold the animal potter. My time, but even the Paschal Milsa, once they paskin the halacha, and then the Tavachu Mochar, it wasn't really his anymore. They paskin it should go back to the Bailim. Havalei Gazlan. He's not a ganef, he's like a gazlan. Somebody who steals in the open. The gazlan ain't a mishlam tashlim yarv chamisha, only a ganef does. Okay. Stop it. So tomorrow we're going to learn at 7:15.
No, but wait,
No. Tomorrow's the shul thing at 7:30. Thank Israel.
Correct. It's where are we doing it? It's at OKBLA or something. Right?
Right. On Pico.
yeah, well, we have the film.
Can we learn at 5? Can we learn at 5:15?
Yeah, that works for me.
Let's learn at 5:15. Otherwise, we're going to fall behind.
Okay.
Let's learn 5:15. I'll be home. It's after Mincha and Ma'ariv, and then we'll learn before we go to the event.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Good night.
There's no
Good
way.
night.
There's no Reisman Shear tomorrow, Harold.
There is.